All right, everybody, happy Wednesday and welcome into AL.com recruiting. I'm your host, Simone, Eli, sports anchor on WKRG Channel 5 in Mobile, alongside the one and only Ben Thomas, who covers all things high school sports for AL.com all throughout the state. Behind the scenes, we got Patrick Greenfield. I want to take a moment to thank our sponsor of the show, Southern Orthopedic Surgeons, for all the support again here on AL.com recruiting. Guys, it's show number 20. And we got a good one. So much going on, Ben. I feel like I should go buy some lottery tickets because I feel like we called this that recruiting was going to ramp up once we got into the season. It slowed down for about a week, but so many topics that we have to discuss going into almost middle of the high school football season now.
Well, you broke some news there, Simone. Show number 20. That's like a full season, and we haven't been canceled. Did we get an award or anything for that?
We should. We're the gold standard.
That's right. We are.
But Justice Finkley, we're going to start there. We had lots of Alabama guys to discuss right off the top of the show. But Justice Finkley over at Hewitt-Trussville expected to make his decision tomorrow. And Ben, as always, you have the inside scoop on what's going on here.
Yeah, I mean, we talked, Simone, last week, I believe. We were talking, he's probably getting closer and closer. He's one of the top uncommitted guys in the state. He's been down to Alabama, Colorado, and Texas for a while now. I talked to Josh Floyd this week, his coach. He said he doesn't really know where he's going, that it wouldn't surprise him if he went anywhere. Obviously, Simone, the biggest surprise here is if he went to Colorado. I mean, nobody expects him to go to Colorado. I mean, no offense to any Buffaloes that are listening to this. He could go there. He obviously likes them. They're in the top three. But I think it's between Alabama and Texas. And just today he tweeted out, I'm going to go where I can play with the best of the best.
Is that not Colorado?
I mean, they got some great players there. But, I mean, if after what you saw this weekend, most people would assume that the best of the best is at the University of Alabama. Now, he could just be trying to throw us a curve. You know, he could be maybe that's Texas. But I think most people think, and I think that he's going to end up going to Alabama, and we'll see. I think Thursday at 4:15 our time is his commitment date. So, of course, we'll have full coverage of that on AL.com as well. So we'll see. As you can see, great stats there. You know, what I've heard about this guy, Simone, the words relentless, passionate, intelligent, all come with justice. He is the guy that we've talked about wants to be a surgeon after whenever his football career is done, either a neurosurgeon, maybe a plastic surgeon.
Yeah.
And he probably is a guy. We list him as a defensive lineman. He's probably not big enough to play on the interior in college. He's probably an edge guy in college is what I've seen. But we'll know Thursday where this guy's going to go.
Yeah, best of the best to me sounds like it would be Alabama. Obviously, we got a good look at the Tide this past week in the win over Miami. On the defensive side, it looks really good. But I think that any guy that knows if he goes to Alabama, there's going to be some competition. You know, you don't just walk into a starting role typically as a freshman at Alabama, but it seems like he's not a guy to shy away from a little bit of competition throughout the start of his career if he decides to go to Tuscaloosa, which, judging by that tweet, I'd be hard-pressed not to think that. Again, it could be a curveball. You never know. Some of these guys, you know, they just like to mess with people, but that's the way it seems.
He seems like he's taking a little suspense out of it, Simone,
Yeah.
That's for sure. He did have, you know, last week they beat Spain Park. He had 5 tackles, 4 assists, a tackle for loss, 2 quarterback pressures. You know, they got Thompson coming up in 2 weeks, so maybe he wants to get it out of the way so he can focus on the number 1 Warriors when they get to that game. That'll be I don't want to spoil anything, Simone, but that'll be on our list of spotlight recruiting games next week, Thompson and Hewitt-Trussville.
I bet it will. All right. Speaking of spotlight guys, we're going to keep things rolling with Zach Pyron, a guy that we've talked to and covered for multiple weeks for a couple of years now, who's won at every level, state title. The most recent, obviously, at Pinson Valley, has been a Baylor commit for a hot minute and has decommitted and since picked up some SEC offers, Ben. So it seems like he is a hot commodity right now on the recruiting trail now that things are wide open for him.
Yeah, I mean, if you followed our show, and I'm sure most of our millions of viewers have, we interviewed this guy just last week. Our boy Pat Greenfield interviewed him after their game, and he was sounded like he was all ready to go there with Baylor. But he decommitted on Sunday night, I believe it was, Simone. I've talked to Zach just the other night. He mentioned a couple of things about his decommitment. Number one, the distance, between Pinson Valley to where he's going, where he wants to go. And number two, he said the Big 12 shakeup. Obviously what's happening with Oklahoma, Texas leaving, who's coming in. Yeah. So I think those were factors. Interesting thing for Alabama fans here. He did attend the Alabama-Miami game as one of the invited recruits there in Atlanta over the weekend. They have not offered him yet. He told me that they're kind of waiting to see if they're going to take 2 quarterbacks in the class or not. We'll see. He did get 2 SEC offers, Arkansas and Vanderbilt, earlier this week. So there are some teams interested in him. He's talked to UCLA and Arizona State, Northwestern, Ole Miss. Obviously, if distance is a concern, Simone, I wouldn't think Arizona State or UCLA will be where he wanted to go. But he'll be interested. He does plan to graduate early, so he doesn't want to rush the decision. But it's got to be made sometime, obviously, in the next couple of months.
I don't really think, at least my perspective on this, Ben, this doesn't shock me too much. This is a guy who went to the Elite 11, got national recognition. I feel like he kind of committed to Baylor before he got super hot on the recruiting trail, before people really knew who he was. And then he kind of proved himself. Obviously he played at a lower level high school here in Alabama in Fife for a second. And I think that sometimes, we've seen guys at the 2, 3A, 4A level pan out, of course, but sometimes it doesn't really help in terms of getting coaches' eyes on you and how many people actually see you. And then goes to Pinson Valley, wins a state title, then to the Elite 11. And I really think that has just put more eyes on him when it comes to national recruitment.
Yeah, well, he played at Fife. They've won 47 straight games. I think that's the second longest streak in the nation, but they don't throw the ball. We all know that. They run a very unique brand of offense. Yeah. So he wanted to go somewhere where they did throw it. He went to Pinson Valley and threw it a lot to Kool-Aid McKinstry last year, and he's doing so again this year. So I think you're right. He did go to the Elite 11. He was the only quarterback in the state, and we got some high-profile guys in the state, obviously, with Connor Harrell and K. Caruth and Caleb Johnson and a couple other guys. But of those guys, Zach was the only one to get the Elite 11 invite. So we have him, as you see there, right there, Patrick putting that up, we have him number 3 on our A list. That's probably higher than most recruiting services have him, but we really like him and what he's done there at Pinson Valley. And I think, like you said, Simone, other colleges are starting to buy into that as well.
Yeah, well, Patrick has our A list pulled up right there, and we're going to move forward with our top recruiting performances. And Emmanuel Henderson, running back over at Geneva County, was one guy that really stood out this week, Ben, headed to Alabama, a top-tier talent who we've highlighted on this show already.
Yeah, I mean, I got the call in about that game on Friday night, Simone, and I kind of had to have the statistician repeat the numbers. 342 yards, 4 touchdowns on 14 carries. There you see it there against Cottonwood. I mean, he just, 14. He only carried it 14 times, Simone, for 342. It's not a bad workload. And he also, by the way, I talked to his coach, Jim Bob Strickland, late Friday night. He also was headed to the Alabama game on Saturday, and I assume he got there. I never heard anything to the contrary. So he's all in on with Alabama, and certainly is. I think he's got 482 yards in 2 games and 7 touchdowns. So he's certainly in for a big season there at Geneva County. They got a big one this week, by the way, against Ayrton on the road. So we'll see what Emmanuel does against them.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, Ben, but do you know if he's graduating early? Is he leaving early?
He told me he was not. He last time I talked to him, he told me that he was going to stay and play basketball. He had a few SEC basketball offers and graduated with his class. Now, of course, that's always subject to change, but as of the last time I talked to him, he was planning to stay for a full year, which has kind of become an oddity in recruiting.
Patrick did the math there a second ago. What was that yards per carry? That was pretty impressive, the numbers there. 25 yards per carry. I couldn't do that math. So, Patrick, I appreciate you putting that up. But Emmanuel Henderson, Geneva County, the second week in a row that we have highlighted him in our recruiting top performances. Meanwhile, back over to Hewitt-Trussville, Omari Kelly had a big day as well. He's headed to Auburn, of course, the receiver over at Hewitt-Trussville.
Yeah, you see his stats there. Patrick's got him up 8 receptions, 126 yards, 2 touchdowns, scored on a 67-yard pass reception and a 7-yard touchdown run. I mean, he's just he's elite. I think he's probably he's number 15 on our list, Simone, and he's probably not getting the attention he deserved, but he committed to Auburn. I guess a couple of weeks ago now it's been, and I think he's going to be a good get for the Tigers. We always like to spotlight, one Alabama commit, one Auburn commit if we can for the past week, and we certainly had plenty of opportunities to do those. There you see I don't want to call them the bottom 5, but numbers 11 through 15 on our A list. One thing I should mention there, Simone, Quinshon Junkins, who's number 11 on our list, he's uncommitted, the running back from Pike Road. He's yet to play. He had a hamstring injury this summer. He's missed the first 3 games of his team's season, but I believe I'm told that he's going to play this week against Andalusia. So hopefully he'll be able to get on the field this week. Sorry to interrupt you. I just happened to notice that name and thought that'd be a good tidbit to throw out there.
Yeah, something good to throw out there for sure. Next on our recruiting spotlight is the West Virginia commit Darrell Williams. Saraland played McGill-Tulane. That was actually our game of the week this last week. And what a game it was, going into overtime. And he was a huge part of the success for Saraland pulling it out.
Yeah, they were down, 18, I think, at one point, came back to win. And he was the reason why. I mean, one of the reasons why. 3 touchdowns. I think he scored the game-winning touchdown. And it's a guy, again, he's been committed to West Virginia since the spring, I think. It's a guy that maybe a lot of people around the state or even the Southeast don't know the name. But he's, and one reason probably they don't know it yet this year is because Saraland's been kind of changing quarterbacks, trying to find the right fit. Looks like they've done it with Gabe Reynolds now. And as you can see, 8 receptions, 164 yards, and 3 touchdowns, especially when a team's a defense is focusing on him. They're trying to limit him. Same thing with Kobe Prentice, the Alabama commit, and Omar Kelly. Teams are trying to take them away, and they still can't do it, Simone. That's the mark of a great player in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely right, Ben. A UAB commit, Taven Curry. Taven Curry, my bad, Taven. Out of Robertsdale, had a big day, putting up some big numbers. Robertsdale has been kind of one of those sleeper teams this year, Ben. I mean, I know last year they had a hot start as well, but kind of impressed so far with what Robertsdale has done on the field. But Taven Curry. Yeah,
2-1. Taven is probably a hidden secret down here in coastal Alabama. I mean, like I said, UAB, not a secret to UAB because he's committed to them, but 28 carries, kind of a workhorse, 240 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, if Robertsdale is successful, he's probably going to have to put up those type numbers every week. And again, they clearly know he's the guy. So they're trying to stop him and they can't do it. So I just wanted to give a spotlight to there. Bill Clark, they've recruited the Mobile area, the Baldwin County area very heavily, obviously with Tyler Johnston and Jermaine Brown and a lot of the guys they have up there, Matt Quinn at UAB, that are playing significant roles for them this year. And this is a guy that will play a significant role down the road for them.
All right, so those are our 4 top recruit performances brought to you by Southern Orthopedic Surgeons, AL.com recruiting here. I'm Simone. He's Ben. Ben, another week 4 of the high school football season and another week of some fantastic games. I don't want to make my picks because you're already destroying everybody in our AL.com picks. I'm scared to even look at the rankings again. But do you have us picking Clay and Gardendale? I'm sure you do.
I do. I don't have you picking them because you haven't sent me your picks yet, and you might be disqualified if you don't.
Get in this one, who'd you?
I'm not telling you that. You can find our listeners and viewers can find that on AL.com on Thursday. But we try and spotlight these games, a couple of games each week, and sometimes it's a bunch of recruits, a load of recruits. Sometimes it's just a couple of guys I'm looking at. Good game here. This is probably the top one as far as recruiting games. As you see there, Patrick's got it up. Caleb Johnson is a guy we haven't talked a lot about. Louisville commit. He's having an excellent start to his season at quarterback. He's kind of been under the radar of Zach Pyron and Connor Harrell and some of those guys, but this guy's an excellent dual threat guy. Clay Chalkful's been on a roll. Marquarius Wright, they call him Squirrel. He's committed to Tennessee. He's one of his favorite targets. Squirrel, yeah. And then Gardendale, I think we had them last week maybe, but again, Kelby Collins is one of the top defensive line prospects for next year's class. And LT Sanders had a big game just this past week. So good game here. I think it's the first game at Gardendale as they put in new turf there. They were actually supposed to play Pinson Valley there last week. That game got moved to Pinson, but this is going to be a big game, maybe the top recruiting game of the week.
For sure, a good matchup there. Meanwhile, in 7A, Hoover at Gadsden City. Not sure how much of a game this will actually be. Hoover's pretty talented, but it's got a couple guys across the board on both sides, especially for the Bucks. Yeah,
here's what I like about this game. Bennett Meredith is the transfer from Spain Park. He's been really good in the first 3 games for the Bucks. You see, Dale Miller is one of the top junior prospects in the defensive backfield in our state for next year. Here's a guy you don't hear a lot about, Simone, Rodney Johnson of Gadsden City. He's a guy getting a lot of attention, another defensive back guy, so he'll obviously have his hands full with Meredith and the Bucks. But good spotlight game on him. Good time, a good chance for him to shine against a very good Hoover team, I believe, ranked number 2 in the state, behind only Thompson. So that's what I like in this game.
Big 7A Region 3 game there. And then back down here in the Mobile area on Saturday, we got Jackson taking on Viger, and some hard hitters in this one as well, Ben.
Yeah, this is actually a 5 p.m. game Saturday at Ladd Peoples Stadium. Because they have so many games at Ladd, they play so many teams play. They play a few Saturday games. Good quarterback matchup here. That's what I like about this one. Walter Taylor III from Jackson, really tall guy. Simone, good stats. His team lost to St. Michael last week, so they'll be kind of looking to get back in the winning column. And then Anthony Mix Jr. is a guy we've talked about for multiple years. He's been at a couple different schools, but he's really found a home at Viger. He's playing well. He has them undefeated. So really good quarterback matchup, maybe an underrated quarterback matchup for week 4 here.
For Mix, what type of interest, Ben, are you aware of when it comes to who's maybe looking at him recruitment-wise?
I think it's been kind of slow just because he's been in such a transitions for the last couple of years. I mean, he started at we came to know him at Baldwin County. He was on the radar of a lot of people at that time. Then he ended up at Saraland. But now he's, like I said, this is his second season at Viger. And so if he continues to play the way he has, I think he'll get some big time attention. And of course, he's the son of Auburn fans will know his dad, Anthony Mix, who played at Auburn, played receiver there back, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, whenever it was. So, but this is a good quarterback matchup. This is a game that, it'll be hard for college recruiters to watch, obviously, because they'll be playing on Saturday, but they'll want to get the film of this one and see, which quarterback was the best here.
Definitely. Yeah, it's something to keep an eye on, both Alabama and Auburn at home this weekend. So expect to start seeing some guys on campus taking visits, going to games, Ben, as that has kind of opened up. And, it's this huge thing. Guys want to go and see the atmosphere, get an idea of what things feel like on Saturdays at campus.
Yeah, and like you said, both of them are at home. Auburn playing Alabama State and Alabama playing Mercer, I believe. So that'll be a good chance for those guys to get on campus, and heard a lot of good things. And everything I've seen so far, even from the recruits that visited in Atlanta, the Alabama game was all positive. So we'll see. I think it's huge. I mean, a great opportunity. And like we've talked about before, it was a shame that they couldn't visit last year, that it wasn't really a college atmosphere with the COVID-19, even if they could have visited. But that's changed, and hopefully it'll stay that way throughout the rest of the year.
Bama fans who tuned in late, off the top of the show, we highlighted kind of the spotlight guy, and that's Justice Finkley, who's going to be making his decision tomorrow. Just want to touch base on that one more time quickly. Expected to make his decision sometime after 4 o'clock tomorrow. Bama in the mix. And Ben, he sent kind of a cryptic tweet today that indicates maybe he's going to roll with the Tide.
Yeah, 4:15 Thursday, he's supposed to decide. So he says, I'm going where I can play with the best of the best. I mean, right now, most people would say the best of the best are in Tuscaloosa. But you never know. I mean, he may be trying to throw us a curve. Remember, Smo, this is the same guy that tweeted out on April Fool's Day he was ready to commit. And I had a story ready. It was a joke, but he really is committing apparently on Thursday, and it looks like Alabama for him. We'll know for sure then.
All right, something to keep an eye on. Of course, Ben will have all your coverage on AL.com. But we appreciate everyone tuning in today. Hope you're having a great Wednesday. I'm Simone Eli. He's Ben Thomas, Patrick Greenfield behind the scenes. We appreciate our sponsor, Southern Orthopedic Surgeons. And this is AL.com Recruiting. You'll have a great rest of your day.